All right, so at this point, I've made almost 30 prediction videos this year, and it's no exaggeration when I say that this is by far the toughest video that I've had to make, and the game that I've had to give the most thoughts to all year long. It's the 2023 SEC Championship in Atlanta, Georgia, between Alabama and the Bulldogs of Georgia. There's quite the rivalry. Excuse me, forming between both of these two teams. They're not historic rivals like Alabama and Tennessee, Alabama and Auburn, or Georgia Tech, or Georgia and Florida. But due to the competitiveness of both of these two teams over the past decade, and the fact that they seem to see each other yearly or almost yearly for a spot in the college football playoff and for the SEC crown, and sometimes even in the national championship. I've seen it twice in the past decade. It's becoming a rivalry between arguably the two best football programs in the country, and it's great too because here in Alabama, Georgia's the border state. The line goes right down, and you're on I-20. Once you cross that line into the Peach State, you're in Bulldog country. Once you cross back into Sweet Home Alabama, it's all roll tide. I love it. I love it. It's what the South is all about. Football, the rivalries. It's great. Alabama had one of its most incredible moments this past Saturday with Isaiah Bond's catch, a game-winning touchdown catch, 4th and 31. I was at Innisfree, a bar right down the streets, and that was probably one of the most electric moments of my life. That place went crazy. There's champagne going everywhere. He played Dixieland Delight and danced along to that. It was one of the best moments of the year so far. And that's what it was. It was a great moment. But as much as I love this Alabama football team, I've got to be honest about a few things. They seem to revert back to their old ways in that previous game against Auburn. There was a lot of Jalen Milroe holding onto the ball for a very long time. There was a lot of offensive line issues in that game. There were a lot of bad penalties, and that can't happen against Georgia. Those things have to be minimized. There was the missed snap on that last drive of the game for the Crimson Tide. But with that said, it's the Iron Bowl, and sometimes strange things happen at Jordan-Hare Stadium. And even though that something has to be acknowledged, I still think that this team is capable of amazing things in the SEC Championship. Alabama has looked very different in the SEC Championship after having a sloppy Iron Bowl. Alabama games have been a lot closer than they've usually been this year. But I've never seen. I can't think of the last time I've seen an Alabama team that has this much grit and this much resilience. They're just high quality guys on this team. And of all of the quarterbacks in college football, I think Jalen Milroe may be the best leader in the nation. I don't think I've seen another guy in college football who has the level of commands, the level of respect, and just the sheer leadership ability of that young man. And that's something that brings a team together. Leader on offense, Jalen Milroe. Leader on defense, Dallas Turner. You've seen it on the field every game this year. And when it comes to games like this, you got to ask yourself, who's your leader? Who's guiding the troops? It was tough to really identify that on Alabama's team last year. This year, it's clear. It's those two gentlemen and their respective units. And it's still one of the most talented rosters in college football. But I think perhaps in this matchup, the most interesting thing about Alabama is that they're disruptive. And when you're playing a team that has won 29 straight, it's all about being disruptive, getting them out of their rhythm. On defense, having guys in the backfield, going after Carson Beck, shutting down the run. You start to frazzle a team like Georgia who hasn't lost in a long time. And if that's the recipe. If you want a recipe for taking down a number one, it's a team that's disruptive, a team that's resilient, and a team that has leadership. Alabama checks the boxes with all three of those things. Let's talk about these Bulldogs for a few minutes. And if they haven't been impressive down the stretch. I don't want to hear about the Georgia Tech game. People are like, oh, well, Georgia Tech played them close. They had a garbage time touchdown that made the game look a lot closer. Georgia really beat the brakes off of them in that game. Let's not be fooled. Sometimes you just can't be fooled by the scoreboard. It's almost like that Niners-Lions game. It took place a couple years ago, and the Niners were up by like 3 possessions, but the Lions had like 2 garbage time touchdowns, one with like 15 seconds left and made the score look close. That's kind of what the Georgia Tech game was. This team has beat Missouri, who's going to a New Year's Six game. Who's a very challenging opponent. And they absolutely mopped the floor with Ole Miss, who's a 2-loss team, who's looked amazing on offense this year. 52-17. When you beat a top 10 team 52-17, that's a statement. This team has looked a lot more refined than Alabama. And on paper, they would be expected to win. I think as of right now, they're 6-point favorites. And they should be favorites in this game. Because pretty much every week, they have looked better than Alabama. And that's why this decision has been so hard for me. Is you say Georgia clearly looks better than Alabama. They'd be a clear favorite. Why wouldn't you take the Bulldogs? Well, sometimes in these games, it's not as easy as who looks better, who's the more refined team. This kills me to say this right now. Actually makes me nauseous. I'm not gonna lie. I could Super Bowl 42. My Patriots look a lot more refined than those New York Giants that they played. They were undefeated. They were scoring 35 points per game. What are these little Giants with Eli Manning gonna do about the supreme New England Patriots? They're going 19-0. No question about it. They're gonna stomp the Giants, and that's what the narrative kind of is going into this game. We all know Georgia's gonna win this thing. We all know New England's gonna win this thing. Were the Giants? They were disruptive. They had leaders on offense and defense, and they had grit. They had resilience, just like this Alabama team has. I trust them guys in the crimson and white, man. I tell you, I trust those guys. I'm taking Alabama to win this thing. 31-27. I think they're going to shock the world, and chaos is going to ensue in the college football playoff. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you and the time that you took out of your day to watch the video. And if you enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video and share it, as well as subscribe to the Era. The more likes and subscribers I get on this channel, the more resources I can attain, and the more resources I can attain, the more value I can provide to you, the viewer. And that is how I show my appreciation for you for the time that you devote to watching my videos. So thank you so much, and have a great day.